Many Magic the Gathering players ask the question, is it worth it to buy an event deck? This is a question whose answer is constantly in flux, because different event decks for different sets will have different values both during and after those sets. For this video, I will explore and explain the answer to this question as it relates to the Born of the Gods event deck, Underworld Herald. Therefore, this video has relevance fairly limited to Born of the Gods and the Theros block. But I hope that this process of evaluation is one you'll consider for future sets and future event decks. Even if you do not agree with my answers, it is through the process of asking questions that we transform ourselves from buying blind to making an informed purchase. Underworld Herald has the following contents. But a lot of that is bulk, commons, uncommons, and even a couple rares with very minimal, if any, value. While not all players are assured of having these bulk cards already, I'd like to focus on the deck contents that have at least a minimal value. So when we exclude all these bulk cards, we have the following. The easiest way to assess the value of the event deck is to just look at what these cards are worth and see how that number relates to what we paid for the deck. I'd like to work with the price of $25 for the event deck, although it is possible some people may have paid a little more or a little less. So what are the non-bulk cards worth? That brings us to a little over $30. When the event deck was released, these same cards had a value of about $50, but in only 2 weeks, card values have dropped, and now the deck can be appraised at a little more than $30, which is probably just a few dollars more than you spent to buy the event deck. Again, some people may have been able to get the deck for less than $25, which obviously adds to the value. But working off of a $25 price tag, plus probably a few bucks for tax and/or shipping, and we're still looking at an event deck that, even after a few weeks of prices dropping, is giving you the same value if you had bought the singles yourself, plus some extra bulk cards and a spin down. But would you have bought all of these singles yourself? Keep in mind that price includes things like 2 Necromancers and 3 Doomblade. Are those singles you would have bought when building your standard deck? Does the Gift of Orzhova really have a place in that deck? If it doesn't, are you able to sell it or trade it? If not, then maybe this wasn't as valuable as we thought. This is where it is crucial to have a clear understanding of what your individual needs are as a player. Are you building mono black for standard? Will you be using all the cards you get in the event deck? If not, how much would it have cost you to just buy the cards that you needed for your deck? There's several ways to upgrade this deck to a more competitive level. The most straightforward way would be a mono black build. But how much would this cost? And is a mono black build the best way to go, given this standard environment? Let's take a look. Here's a basic mono black build. Please note, this is not meant as deck tech. I am not advocating this build. I am using it as a baseline example of how you might choose to upgrade it. So what cards do we already have from our event deck from an upgraded mono black build? Now is when the true value of the event deck is becoming clear. The real question becomes, how many of the remaining cards needed to upgrade this event deck do you already own? Or how much is it going to cost you to get those cards? Here's what you'd need. Again, this is for a basic black build. In a lot of builds, the Nightveil Spectre is usually in competition for the Lifebane Zombie's spot. Depending upon your meta, as well as other subtle changes you may have made to your deck, it's debatable whether you would want a playset of Nightveil Specters or a playset of Lifebane Zombies, or some combination of the two. But either way, neither of these are included in the event deck, and you'll be spending somewhere between $24 to $40 to get what you need for your main board just in this regard. Total cost of upgrading the event deck with a Shrine, a playset of Lifebane Zombies or Nightveil Specters, 3 Pack Rats, a Bile Blight, and a playset of Underworld Connections, we're looking at over $150, and that doesn't include some of the more costly sideboard cards like Erebos, let alone the seemingly mandatory requirement most decks now have for a playset of Mutavaults. Yes, this deck, like most others in Standard and Modern and elsewhere, would be improved with Mutavaults. So that $25 event deck needs over $150 or so to get it to the next level of competitiveness. This in no way means you can't just buy an event deck and sit down and play at your Friday Night Magic or game day, but you'll have a lot more success with even just a little upgrading. Finally, what if you don't want to play mono black? The cards from Underworld Herald can also be used to upgrade to black-white or even an Esper variant, but again, given the additional cards you need for these builds, buying the singles you need is probably going to net better results financially. Even if you are using a black-white build that utilizes those 2 Necromancers, it's only a few dollars of value. So who is this event deck for? I'd say it is a great starting point for the new player who is still learning, doesn't have much in the way of a collection, and is interested in starting with a weaker mono-black deck and maybe upgrading it in pieces along the way. I also know some players who see event decks as a fun way to just have something to play at a game day, or that one Friday of the season that they manage to get free from work and play at their local game store. Also, a lot of players might find that their collection already contains many of the missing pieces for an upgraded deck. If you've got a folder with most of the needed upgrade components from your Ravnica pre-releases or from drafting, and you don't currently have a standard deck, then this is an easy way to get some of the missing pieces you need. And again, during that brief window where the contents were more around $50, this was a much better buy. But look at what happened. I intentionally waited 2 weeks to make this video, just to see, and prices dropped $20. Mono black is not being played as widely as it was in the current standard environment. And while we don't know where we'll be in 2 more weeks, the value of these cards is more likely to drop rather than rise. If you're watching this video in April, double check prices. It might already be cheaper to just buy the singles that are in this event deck than buying the event deck itself. Remember, different players have different needs, but I'm willing to bet most players have limited budgets. Assessing your needs is critical to ensuring you get the most value out of that budget. I hope this video has been of some use to you. Remember to subscribe because more videos are on the way. And whether you are buying an event deck or the singles you need for your constructed deck, be sure to try and spend that money at your local game store whenever possible. You're investing in your Magic community.